Good morning. Welcome to our thought for today. This is Monday morning, and we were looking yesterday at Mark chapter 2, verses 13 to 17. And this was an important passage because we picked up again where Jesus is forming his team of disciples. And it's a very short passage, only about 5 verses. And in many ways, I've shot myself in the foot this week because I picked a short passage for Sunday, and I like to try and stay in that same passage for the week ahead. And so I have to find more and more to say about that passage. But that's okay, because reading God's word is almost like digging a hole. The deeper you dig, the more there is to dig. And we keep digging and keep finding more and more treasure. And so we can never fully exhaust it. And so hopefully what I have to say this morning will further enhance, if you like, what we thought about yesterday and your own personal reading around Mark chapter 2. So Jesus woke up one morning and he decides to go down to the lake to go for a walk, or is there another purpose in mind? We read in verse 13, he went out again beside the sea, and all the crowd was coming to him, and he was teaching them. And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. So did Jesus just randomly go for a walk and just somehow come across Levi, or Matthew as we know him? No, I don't think so. I don't think Jesus woke up and randomly decided, well, let's just decide where we go today. Well, the beach might be nice down beside the lake because there's maybe a breeze coming off the water. I don't think that's what happened. I believe that Jesus, before time itself, had decided in his mind and his plan that he was going to have 12 disciples. We know the 12 tribes of Judah, how important they were. The 12 elders we read about in the book of Revelation. And for Jesus, the 12 disciples were also very important. Now, you would have thought almost that Jesus, doing such an important work that he would have had a huge number of disciples that would have all done his work, helped him along. He would have been far more effective, etc. But 12 men, one man leading them, it's not an awful lot. But yet Jesus had other disciples. There were others who followed him and helped him. His immediate group of 12 were the ones that we know about. They were the ones that Jesus took everywhere with him and gave them jobs to do and really assigned them to continue his work after he left. And even within that group of 12, he had Peter, James and John, who he very often went off and spent special time with, because sometimes you can only do real deep thinking and planning with a smaller group. So Jesus had his plan and his purpose, and he had chosen this man, Levi. And we're going to learn a little bit more about Levi, or Matthew, as we go through this week. And so it's important to remember that Jesus didn't do things randomly. He didn't just get up and say, heads we go to the beach, tails we go inland. No, he knew where he was going. He knew that Levi was going to be there. And he goes down, we read, and this crowd comes to him and he teaches them. But he has this man, Levi, in mind. And he isn't going to leave that area until he speaks to him. Now, if we then follow that through logically, that Jesus had chosen his 12 disciples before he met them, if he knew who they were going to be, then why under the sun would he ever have chosen Judas? Would he not have been better to have had someone who was not going to betray him, someone who was going to be there for him throughout his ministry? And sometimes the question is asked, well, why did Jesus choose Judas Iscariot when he could have chosen someone else? And maybe you're thinking that this morning, if he was so intentional, was this somehow a mistake? And we could read it as a mistake, or we could wonder what was the purpose behind it. And yet, in many ways, Jesus chose Judas because Judas was fulfilling a prophecy that had been spoken about Jesus' ministry by the psalmist David, King David, if you remember, who is connected by heritage through the bloodline, in a sense, to Jesus, said in Psalm 41 verse 9, "Even my close friend in whom I trusted, who ate my bread, has lifted his heel against me." This is a direct reference, it is believed, to Judas Iscariot. And Jesus brought these words out at the Last Supper and used them to prove to Judas that what was going to happen, Jesus already knew about it. Now, obviously, there are a whole lot of other things we can learn from Judas Iscariot, and learn from the way Jesus treated him, and learn from what happened there, and learn from how the disciples reacted to him. but we're not doing a study on Judas. This is a thought about Matthew this week, about Levi. And so I want to leave you with a thought today. If you are a follower of Jesus Christ, if you have given your life to him, if you have known his call upon your life, then take a moment to have that wonderful sense of, wow, that Jesus came looking for you. It wasn't just a random, it wasn't like he was throwing seed out all over the place and some of that seed just happened to land in your heart and grow faith. No, Jesus wanted you. He came looking for you. He chose you from before eternity. And so the fact that you accepted Jesus Christ was just simply a fulfillment of what Jesus had intended for you. He loved you enough, he desired you enough to actually come looking for you, to put his hand on your life, to call you by your name and to call you to follow him. Now we're going to be thinking a little bit more about what follow means in just a day or so's time. So I hope you're just overcome by that wonderful sense of the fact that Jesus loved you enough to put his hand in your life and to call you because he went looking for you. Incredible thought when you think about it. Hope you have a great Monday, and hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Thank you. God bless.